Yeah, so just taking you through FreeWing. I think, like, for me, just the simplicity of what we're trying to focus on within the range. The first thing for me is presenting a really well structured range to you. Like, as the category matures, like really making sure that we've taken care of each of the key areas, the key customer groups, and that's been a big focus for us this year, is like looking at the key product ranges, looking at where they need to sit, and having that as an overall structure. The other thing for us has been, for marketing, focusing on really growing the FreeWing brand. So it's a new brand, and then we really need to put a lot of energy into establishing the brand in the market, communicating the brand in as many places as possible, and that's something that Chris will take you through. So for us, sales and distribution, like improving the execution of our product readiness, improving things like getting you salesman samples. Like, we've had a lot of feedback, as there's so much movement within the market, to get salesman samples to you as quickly as possible, so you can really evaluate, the kind of one thing is the early demand, and then the second phase for us is like how deep the product's going to go into the market, how relevant it is to your market. So more and more, the salesman samples are an important part of trying to reduce the amount of uncertainty in terms of what the market brings. So I do think you're still going to have a structure where a certain amount of products will need to be bought blind, but what we're trying to do is limit, so you might get your first shipments in without having received the salesman samples, but then after that you'll have salesman samples that you can get on the road. And for us, we always see like that first 25%, you might end up having to buy that blind, but the difficulty is the next, the rest of how deep do you go, what sizes do you go deep on, how relevant it is to the market, and that's something from the salesman sample side is important. Yeah, shipping on time, logistics efficiencies, like all of those really important things. It's so difficult with a new category, and for us, like, I always tell people, like, try to think of us as a technology company. So what we're trying to do is give you the newest technology as quickly as possible into the market. So we're chasing development as late as we can, and we're trying to deliver it to you as quickly as possible. So you really got to have that technology mindset and understand that how we work as a company. And that's, if you look through the history of the company, how often we're bringing product first to the market. It's how you win world championships, is by making sure that you've got that extra 3%. I mean, that's how much, those are like, so we're always chasing that edge. And so for me, like, that technology mindset is helpful when we're trying to explain to customers, like, we're always trying to get the newest product to market ahead of everybody else, as well resolved as possible. But this goes all the way down to the supply chain, is like, then we've got to do it at scale. So it's really challenging, and it's a lot of fun, but just trying to balance it out at the same time is very important, in terms of making sure that the design team is supporting the sales team, and that is supporting the retailers all the way to the end, to make sure that that whole chain connects. That customer comes into the store and he asks for something, and it's either imminent, or it's there, or it's available. So I think that's some of the things. And then also on pricing, you're really setting our 3 key performance price groups, and that's something that we believe is quite relevant to the market. Is that there's your occasional customer, or your recreational customer, then there's your regular person who becomes more connected with the product, your everyday rider, and then you have customers who are chasing absolute premium performance. So I think that's something in the structures of the ranges that's super important, and that's something we'll touch on a bit more as we go through the range. So looking through the range overview, really essentially you're looking at free ride product, and then you're looking, for us, that all-round product, and then into your more specialty, which is your freestyle, wave, and racing. And that, the thing for us, the positioning of the Go is very important, because it's much more than an entry-level wing. It's a product that is really aimed at free ride, aimed at everyday free ride, and a lot of these product positionings are long-term. This is what we want to try to chase, in terms of this is kind of our promise. What we're trying to deliver is the best free ride product, and then the best all-around product, and then moving into your specializations. And yeah, we'll take you through each of the products now, but just as you see the range, I always think of it, we've given you the price positioning, think of it as the customer positioning as well. Yeah, so the big thing for me before we go into each product is technology. Yeah, so when we talk about innovation, the thing for me is there's 5 years of development in this piece of cardboard. So I think it's so important that you spend some time really understanding it, because it's the most important sales tool in terms of differentiating the brand, in terms of understanding the philosophy or the architecture of the brand. And so, you know, what we've really tried to do is make sure that we communicate the products well. I was with Jama, we were in a store in France, and they were speaking. The sales guy was talking about the materials, and and we could just see that he didn't actually know much about the fabrics. And we thought, well, there's a massive opportunity to really, how do we make it much easier for the sales people to reinforce the brand message, so the customer reads it on a website, that they don't walk into the store and get a slightly modified version. And I know a lot of sales guys, there's even some of you in this room, and they love to know exactly what they're talking about at all times, and sometimes they might just create their own reality if they so I think for us it's important to give you really good sales tools to communicate the brand and the materials, and so the biggest thing I think in terms of unique products is starting with the Ultra X. This is a unique product to the brand, and the some of the sales arguments you might get against the product is if anybody talks about the weight, because anytime we make something durable, you always think what your competitors might say, because it's heavy. So the important thing about the Ultra X is this material is the same weight as our key competitors, like Duotone's canopy material is exactly the same weight as our 3-layered composite laminate. So theirs is around 85 grams, ours is around 85 grams, so it's the same weight. It's very, very important to understand that. If you look at the construction of this material, you have it in your hands, you'll see the backing is a smooth backing. The black lines are sandwiched in between, and then you have an outer layer, which is a woven layer. So the reason you use a composite is because you want to get balanced properties. You want to have, so this is a really good example where, like, what you're getting with the woven layers, you're getting the durability. Like, the woven layer means that you can wrap it up, you can fold it, you can put the wing on the ground, you can stab it with the screwdriver, you can do whatever you might need to do to that wing to like in terms of just ensuring the resistance of that first layer. Then in terms of where it gets really fun is if you have a look at the Ultra X. So this is a Ultra PE. I'm going to just stop on the Ultra PE. So Ultra PE, there's Dyneema, there's Spectra, and there's Ultra PE. They are all the same thing. Spectra is an Ultra PE, Dyneema is an Ultra PE. So when we talk about Ultra PE, that is the same material. Spectra is a trademark, it's a brand name, and Dyneema is a brand name of Ultra PE. So it's very important when you communicate this with customers that you clarify and we use a lot of Ultra PE, and it's very expensive. So it's important in your marketing that at any time you hear people talking about Dyneema, about Spectra, that it's clear for you that it's the same. It's all some level of Ultra PE. So how we use it in the Ultra X is you'll see all the black yarns. These are all Ultra PE materials, and they're sandwiched in between the film and between the woven fabric. So what this gives us is puncture resistance. I'm not going to destroy this piece of fabric, but you could literally put a screwdriver through this, wiggle it around. The Ultra PE holds the whole thing together. So I mean, like, it's really a web for durability. It also, because of its orientation, if you know much with fabrics, they're very strong in what we call the warp and the fill. So in each, but where they generally can be quite flexible is in the bias, like in the 45 degrees, because you can imagine woven this way and that way. So the Ultra PE also supports the bias, very important. And then probably the most important part in terms of the ultimate performance is going to the laminate on the inside. So the laminate is what basically limits the stretch of the fabric, and really supports the bias stretch even more. So you get a really like a really stable fabric, and the stability is very important for wings, and the stability is very important when you're developing lightweight materials. So yeah, really excited about that material. Are there any questions about that? Yes.
How did you develop it?
So we have these key development partners with us, and they're relatively large industrial companies, and luckily we have a good relationship that's been built over a very long time, because we do a lot for them as well when we get the new fabrics into the market. So for us it's just simply defining, like, how can we make the most durable canopy, and like sometimes the problem is obvious. I have a friend who sent me a photo of his wing, and it's from another brand, and he says, I need a new wing, and his wing just looks like somebody drove through it with a truck, and then the opportunity is obvious. So for us the first thing was the canopies, and before that we developed a material called Hookkeeper, and then what we would find is the team riders would completely destroy their wing, but they would just send us a picture of the frame completely intact. Yeah, so then the frame would be 100% good, and then there would be pieces everywhere else. So it was pretty clear that we needed to develop a better canopy.
Before you move on,
yeah.
exclusive to FreeWing.
Yeah, again, that's exclusive to FreeWing, not forever, so we need to market it, we need to talk about it, we need to own this material, and it's very important that we're out there communicating it to the stores, the customers, as much as possible.
Is it exclusive for FreeWing?
Yes, it's exclusive for FreeWing until around, for about another 6 months to 8 months. It's exclusive for us, so we can't have exclusivity forever on these fabrics, unfortunately. But it is something that we have through the whole of the summer in terms of as an exclusive material. So we do need to own that. Moving on to the Hookkeeper. So that's 120 gram fabric, the Hookkeeper. Like a regular leading edge material is 160 grams, so that you can see the weight savings is
How much was the saving?
it's about 25%. So you're saving 40 grams per square meter from, if you compare a traditional Dacron to the Hookkeeper. But the main thing when you're looking at the Ultra PE is, I probably should have gone to this in the beginning. In a yarn form, Ultra PE is 28 times stronger than polyester. So it's not double, it's not triple, it's really off the chart. So that's why it's such a magical material. And then what you see when you get to the Hookkeeper, what is unique about the Hookkeeper is the yarns are woven into the structure. So we stabilize it with polyester, and then we weave Ultra PE, polyester, Ultra PE, and so this whole thing is a woven structure that's primarily Ultra PE material. And for example, that's what they used to build knife-proof gloves out of for police officers, and so you can imagine for abrasion resistance, it's really good. So especially here on the Hookkeeper where it sits on the outside, it means that it's the best for abrasion resistance in terms of the fabrics we can offer. Yeah.
When did you develop Hookkeeper?
And that was, we started working with kites. We started with the material with Dyneema, actually one of our partners there, and the next iterations from that was to work with Challenge. I think it was around 3 or 4 years ago, but it's been about 6 years that we worked between the laminates. But yeah, so I think the Hookkeeper we started around 3 years ago when we came to a dead end with the Dyneema materials. That was in the works.
This is how it goes. You develop something with manufacturer, and then a year or two later other brands will have access to that material.
Yeah.
Which means that we must really be out there promoting it as being the ones that are creating the materials now and having that advantage.
Yes, and I mean that is essentially why we have to also market them and also own them, like in the marketing space as much as possible. And then the new material for this, yeah. And then when you get to lightweight, yeah, it's really interesting as we start taking that technology with the Ultra PE materials, and then we start really pushing the lightweight side of the materials. And this is the new Aeris material from Alula. So what is different? You would have probably seen Alula in the gold material before. So the differences over the gold material is that gold material is a foil. It's a foil that they use to cover the outside of the material, and the Aeris material does away with that foil layer, and it also has other properties in the laminates that allows the wing to twist better. It allows us to basically manage the properties a lot better. So the other thing with the Aeris is it's 100% recyclable, so that's also a good sales argument, and it has other mechanical characteristics that we will tell you about in a year or two's time, that we're also very excited about. So that opens up other design avenues. But essentially, it is this is a 74-gram material. So you can, if you take it, we went from 160 gram down to 120 gram with the Hookkeeper, and then the gold sits at about I think 85 grams, and then now we have worked with Alula for the Aeris, which is down to a 74-gram material. So it's an extremely lightweight material. And again, the structure of this is, if you have a look at the material, all the lines in there, those are all Ultra PE. So all that is, what's holding the whole thing together is those Ultra PE materials. And I know people get a little bit concerned when it's actually transparent and you can see the bladders in the wings. You can see how lightweight the fabric is. But again, the secret is all the Ultra PE yarn that's 28 times stronger than polyester. So theoretically, you can use whatever 27 times less and be at the same weight. So you'll see the step down. You know, when you're building something that's half the weight, you've really still got you've still got 14 times more strength in the fabric. So it's the very, very interesting with the Aeris materials. And then you'll see we talk about two versions of Aeris, the FX86 and the FA74. And the important things is I'll show you where we use them in the wings, but essentially the FX86 is a very, very stiff material, and we'll use that in the center of the wings. And then the 74 is used in the wing tips, like away from the center. And there's been a lot of testing we've done about how to manage the pressure. So an interesting thing is you don't just want to make the stiffest wing you possibly can, because you start to potentially lose low-end power. It's the same when you're building a kite. If you make the challenges with the original, like the gold materials, is that they don't twist. So the kites don't breathe, they don't steer. So you've got to redesign them. And the beauty of the Aeris materials is we can really manage the technology, and that's really composite design. Like if any of you with the boards, you all know how we'll play with the stiffness by using UD, by using a biax, by using a combination. And now we're really able to do that within the laminate materials, and that's a real breakthrough. Just so imagine we can change the stiffness of the leading edge of the struts by just changing the material, and that material we can even tweak that going forward. So it's really a lot to take in, but I think it's a really important foundation for understanding the materials and the technology that we take into the market. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Hookkeeper is more durable, but how much more durable than the Alula?
I mean, it's got twice as much Ultra PE in it. If you so if you take like and that's the really working, what I call that's the meat and potatoes of the durability, is coming from how much Ultra PE you're using. So and also the thing with the Hookkeeper, because the Ultra PE is on the outside, whereas when you get to these laminates, the Ultra PE is between two films. So you'd imagine you'd need to get through the film, get into the material before you get the mechanical property, the abrasion properties. Whereas like with the Hookkeeper, because it's woven on the outside, anytime if you took your wing and dragged it down here, it would basically be dragging on the Ultra PE at the time, whereas if it was a laminated wing, you'd need to pretty much sand off the film layer, and then you'd get into the mechanical stuff. Yeah, I think that's about as short and sweet.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Maybe two. So one is the second-hand value of a wing that is built with Ultra X. How do we verify that compared to something made out of a more normal Spinnaker material?
I mean, it's a very difficult question. Who's still got normal wings in stock? But no, I mean, the loaded answer is I mean, it's at least twice as durable from a performance side, from a longevity. You know, one thing is like the material might still look good, but the thing is it bags, it starts to bag out. So one thing is the performance loss, and the other thing is the absolute durability. So I think the critical failure, and I mean, where the material is very good is your longevity of performance is higher, and your overall abrasion, impact resistance, puncture resistance is
Can you put a
much
number on
higher.
that? Like, does it take twice as long to be
Yeah, I would say minimum twice as long. That's why I say it depends. If you take like overall stretch of the fabric, like overall deformation of the fabric, it's probably 10 times more. Like, I mean, if you took like, because you could use the wing for a year, and it's within it. You're using it within its working range, so you'd get way more time out of it. In terms of absolute durability, we've been testing this for about a year and a half, and like we literally have riders will manage to make a hole in it, and we just say just leave it. So even when it's got holes in it, you can keep using it. So it's quite a open-ended. Yeah, we'll probably be able to tell in another year if it lasts more than 2.5 years easily.
Imagine if you were a windsurfer and you were building your windsurfing sail out of a normal canopy, right? Just keep that in mind. We tried that maybe 10 years ago. We tried to make some super light windsurf sails with spinnaker cloth, and it would be wearing out very, very quick. I mean, you can't imagine as a salesperson to sell a windsurfing sail with spinnaker cloth. You can't imagine it. And I think in the future we may also imagine selling wings with spinnaker cloth. So now we are ahead. It's very important for people to understand that there's a huge difference in the canopy. It's sellable to offer a windsurfing rig with spinnaker cloth, but you couldn't possibly sell it.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question to dovetail on the quick fix being, if there was a hole, the quick fix being the sail tape or whatever anybody wants to use, but would a place like Airtime have access to these fabrics if somebody wanted them to be repaired?
Yeah, they would have access to the fabrics. I mean, that's something we're trying, with the material suppliers to be able to make that available. So yeah, they are available as aftermarket in quantities, in repair quantities. And that's actually quite a positive in terms of. We also work with a company called Teijin in Japan, and they're a nightmare. Like, you can't, if somebody picked up the phone and tried to phone Teijin and order 5 yards of cloth, they would not get anywhere. Whereas if you work with somebody like Challenge, you can go to their website. You can,
I got you.
And if it's proprietary cloth, they would probably say, okay, we can send you 5 yards. Is it for repairs, like that? And
quantities where somebody couldn't manufacture with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they would just manage the quantities, but on small quantities, they would happily just support. So yeah. Gets difficult when it gets to colors, but at the moment these colors are all generally available. So yeah.
Product.
Cool. Yeah, let's go product. So Sam, you want to work together?
Oh, I can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I think we got to put Sam up front here because he did more work on the go than I did, and I think. How long have you been working with this one?
Started in September full time. I was working part time through the summer, but yeah, I got to Thailand and full on from September. And we hit the ground running. I basically joined for the tail end of the go, and it actually evolved quite a lot in those last few months. from what we originally started with, which was coming from the Go V1. So kind of if you're not familiar with the Go already, the Go is kind of the entry level, but also kind of more of the price point wing with the kind of traditional construction. So you've got a Dacron leading edge and your standard canopy cloths. But this kind of concept is that we wanted something that if you've never winged before, you go out on the water and it's something easy to use. Like one of the biggest features that stands out on this is the swept wingtip. When you go out on the water, if you're not the tallest rider, if you're a young kid or something like this, you've got this swept wingtip, because one of the biggest banes of learning to wing is catching that wingtip in the water. So that's kind of like the thing we kind of highlight in this is if you're learning on a paddleboard and it's your first wing lesson, those that are going to have a little go today will probably be using this wing. Because it just makes it so much easier when you're not got to worry about holding that wing super high above your head. When you later go on to foiling, having this swept wingtip is also a benefit, because you can ride those bigger wings in the lighter winds, pump the wing harder, and actually when we're in Thailand riding in like 5 to 15 knots, those kind of conditions, we always take the Go, because you actually get going quicker, just because of how much more power it holds, as well as how much better you can pump the swing. So key features and changes on this is we now don't offer a no window option. We only offer with windows, and we've tried to optimize these window positions. It's like basically a priority on safety. Sven had a friend in, I think it was in Norway, who actually rode into a ferry because he had a wing with no windows in. And we were kind of like, as we're aiming this at more the entry-level riders, and throughout the range you'll see, we're now trying to optimize our window locations to give you the best visibility while you're riding for the rider's safety primarily. So we've kind of got this center window and the kind of longer swept window on the top, which is good for while you're foiling, but also while you're not foiling. So those guys that are learning in the schools and things like this, they can also see where they're going while they're on their knees on a paddleboard and things like this as well.
I think also the thing for us with the window placement was having this window. Quite often you can drop down onto somebody, like if somebody's coming upwind and you're both on the same tack, you can quite easily drop on top. And you immediately started to pick this up when we started racing. It's like you get to that thing where you're coming to a jibe mark and one guy's pinching up and you dropping down to the mark, and he might be behind you and you can't see him. So like that's for me what I call the oh shit window, where there's somebody so close and then you realize that they're right there. And like these windows a little bit more, looking where you're going, and also when you're jibing as you lift the wing up. So we did a lot of discussions, debates around where the window should be, taping over them, trying to optimize them. But yeah, the new window placement's seen a lot of work. I think another important thing that we haven't touched on here is you'll see there's a new heavy duty material that we use on the center of all of the wings, and this is a 260 gram Dacron. And for all of you probably know the amount of load that's going into the center section of the wing here, and that's when you're running the inflation, that's the highest pressure. So the highest pressure would be where you have the maximum diameter, and as physics has it, that's just where we decided to connect the strut as well. So there's a lot of things happening in that space. So adding that has increased the stiffness and the durability of the wing. And another important point for me would be the color. So we use a light gray color. Specifically, so many of the schools will just leave the wings in the sun the whole day and in very hot conditions. So what was the pressure, the temperature to pressure increase that we had?
I can jump in on this one really quick. But there's one thing we did a big mistake last year, and actually almost as big a mistake this year. We wanted for you to sell many of them, and actually you ordered about 4,500 the first year, so that kind of worked, but we worked on 15.9% margin, our brand margin. So people got the understanding this is a cheap wing. It's not a cheap wing. It was just very you know, what do you call it, slender margin on our side. This year we work on, I think, 19.1, which is also way too slender margin. So it's a great wing. It's just we kind of sucked up the whole pricing system there. So going forward, we cannot call it the low-priced wing. It's just incredibly high value. So keep that in mind, that this is high-value wing for so many reasons.
Cool. An important thing to note as well is like this is the only wing now in the range with the fixed handles. The big improvement is we've now got stitching down the spine. So this feels a lot more like the firm flex handle that you're probably familiar with on the Evi 3 and other wings like that. The big advantage to this is over time the webbing doesn't stretch out and you get a better torque control. So when the wing is rolling, you've got better control because the webbing isn't sliding over the plastic underneath. So these now, compared to when we didn't have the stitch to when you add it, it was a huge difference. And also it makes your handle feel like fresh for a lot longer. So they kind of don't wear out over time as badly as well. So.
And then that is a 83 gram canopy, right? Yes. So this is a heavier canopy than what you would see in a lot of the traditional wings. This is still, it's I think 83 gram canopy, so that's on the heavier side of the canopies, and so that also gives you a lot more durability than what you would have, say, from the Air V3, which would have been a 52 gram canopy. Yeah.
The windows with folding and heat.
Folding
and heat, like, you know, the old ones used to crease, and
so I mean, unfortunately, the window material is one of the more challenging materials, but the big difference for us is moving towards PU away from the PVC, and the PU is basically bladder material, which is very, very thick, and that's actually a very robust material in terms of its application, and so it is better, but it's still an issue with folding them wet, you know, with a lot of humidity
and heat.
Yeah.
And
so,
warpage and
yeah, so it's something that it's a big improvement over PVC, but it's still, it still has its challenges with trying to make sure they're dry-ish when you fold them, and as you said, heat and humidity together is challenging. But I would say it's solved to a much greater level than what it was in the past. And that was also with cold. That's another very important point. One of the reasons we didn't, with the early wings, we didn't have windows is for cold, for people using them in snow and ice. Like the old PVC windows used to go brittle, and then you don't have that issue with the PUs.
Cool. So the Go comes in 3.5, 4.5, 5.5 and 6.5. The 5.5 and the 6.5, the only difference is they have a small handle on the front. It's basically just for when you're starting out and bringing the wing above your head. The handles can be a little far under the wing, so the small handle on the front is just to help you get the wing above your head. It used to have Y handles for the same purpose, but it just looks a lot cleaner with a small handle similar to this on the front. When we're on the beach later, you can check that one out and have a little look. The other thing, as we go through the sizes, they're scaling proportionally. So the wing is identical in its outline, just scaled down. So on most wings, as you get to the smaller wings, we make them higher aspect, but then sometimes for the young kids on the smaller wings, the span is a little much. So for the kids as well, in the 3.5, the span's nice and compact, so they can, for the short guys, they can still use the wing as the same scaled up for the older guy on the 5.5, same for the 3.5. So that's another key thing to stand out here. Yeah, correct. So this one also is waist leash. The standard on the rest of our range is the wrist leash. This one, just for the beginners, it was if you're paddling on your stomach, it means it's a bit easier if you're lying down on your board and paddling upwind. You've got a waist leash, that means one arm's not caught up with the wing. So it was just for targeting at that entry level. A lot of our team prefer the wrist leash when they get a bit higher level, but still there's some pros to the waist leash for that entry guy. Perfect. Cool.
Yeah, so just wings are getting progressively bigger. I'll stand to the back. So yeah, this wing has been a huge amount of development work for us. So we started relatively fresh with this model because there's key areas that we wanted to focus on. The main thing for us was just getting that all-round performance. So we wanted to make sure that it was something that was accessible, but it still had the performance for more advanced riders, and just seeing how winging is progressing so quickly and what people are looking for. So having something that was very versatile has been really important for us. I think the key thing for us is this is the first wing within the range that is using the Ultra X. So the Air team had the Ultra X, but this, as you know, that's still quite a high price wing, and here we're having a more accessible price within the Air. And in terms of construction, so you have the Ultra X canopy, you have still have your Dacron leading edge with your heavy duty Dacron in the center section over there. An important feature is the firm flex handle on the front. What this allows you to do is to run a short hard handle for people who are downwinding and they want to have the steering of the wing, or they have the option and ship standard with the firm flex handle. And this is also the first wing where we're bringing in the carbon boom, the one-piece boom. And this has been a lot of development, taking a lot of what we learned from the paddle shafts, and so in terms of building an extremely lightweight product, and that's extremely durable. So that's a very exciting step for us. So we haven't weighed everybody else's boom on the market, but we know it is significantly lighter than some of our key competitors.
Quickly, yes, we have weighed the competitors. This is usually, I think, the larger brand in the market. I think there is about 435 grams. This is 275, so about 30% lighter. Super strong, super stiff. Just check it out.
But why the boom though? Is that what the market is demanding nowadays, or?
So the thing about our handle system is, from the beginning we started with the modular handle system, and that means you can run it with soft handles, hard handles, or the boom. And especially in this category, it's important to be able to appease any specific customer. At the moment, a lot of the requests, can we have a boom? The booms is quite fashionable, and a lot of the feedback is pointing that the direction will be towards the one-piece boom at the moment. So yeah, that's a lot of development in that space, but again, you can configure it any way you like. So that was also important for us to have that option as well.
It's just another shipping standard with the leash and boom compared to other brands.
Yeah, so in terms of pricing, it's also important to know that the boom's included with the price and the leash is included with the price, where for some strange reason some of our competitors decide to ship it without a leash, which is crazy. And then also that the customer has the boom standard is much more of a complete option in terms of, especially at that price level, when people walk into the store, they don't want to. Then we still feel they want to just buy everything that works. A big point for me.
Just one more thing about the boom. One more, Russia.
Yeah, you say that the boom comes with the wing, or is aftermarket?
Yes.
And the other two handles?
No, those are additional parts.
Okay.
One more thing. Have you felt the thickness, the diameter of that boom? Is really thin. It's the thinnest in the market.
The grip is really smooth.
Yes, it's really cutting edge stuff.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Air team comes with the handles.
Yeah.
And then the new
Yeah,
Air
V4 comes with the boom.
comes with the boom.
Yeah.
Would there be any value to not packing them together and letting the customer choose, since they both have the inserts? That way we're not limiting the customer's preference on the handles to dictate the choice of the wing.
So we did some research, maybe not enough, on how we should ship them, but most of the feedback we get from the stores is, please make it complete.
And
So
not
like that.
parts and
Yeah, not parts.
I'm with that.
Yeah, and one thing is, will be I think there's quite a few. There's some key retailers who are very engaged with what's going on, but then there's still a lot of schools and centres that don't really know everything, and they don't have all the
Sure, parts and
they-
pieces, and they get lost.
Yeah, and they might not be doing big volumes, or they might, be buying 5 or 10 for their school a year, and then they order one replacement part, mid-season. So like the feedback generally we get is to ship everything as complete.
The
as-
wholesale
as
price
possible.
of the two, aftermarket, not including a wing, are they similar?
Yeah.
Like is a set of handles similar in price to a boom?
This boom will cost around 150 euro for the boom retail.
And then two handles would cost.
Wow. Well, the handles currently are in alloy. I can't remember. We will get it from Joma.
But cheaper than probably because it's alloy, not carbon.
Of course,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
huge difference. I mean, basically,
Sure.
alloy to carbon is 1 to 20 in price. So $1 for something like this in alloy, 20 for the same in carbon.
So it's 60 is
Depending on the carbon type
retail.
as well.
The handles are 60.
One size boom or
Yeah.
for all the sizes?
The one size boom for all the sizes. So the only thing because the Air Team was developed earlier in the only thing you have to be aware is that the Air Teams do not fit the one size boom.
Oh,
Yeah, so you would need to basically get a customize a boom to fit the Air Teams. The reason for that, because that wing was developed a year ago. We started the development a year ago, and so that product's went to market earlier. So that's also one of the challenges with, the compatibility. But yeah, you could technically modify a boom to fit onto the part, if necessary. I think a lot of the questions around the Air V4, compared to the Air V3, from a power side, the sizing, the Air V3, the sizing was quite different to the printed size, and also it was a very flat wing. When you test these wings, you'll see they're way more powerful. So it's like significantly more powerful, and these are also significantly more powerful than the Air Teams, which we'll touch on that later. So the big things we addressed over the V3 was much more power. You get much more stability because of the Ultra X canopy, and of course the new material in terms of longevity and the boom. So it's a big step forward in terms of products, and we hope that you get to jump onto the water with it. Cool. Any questions on that? Yeah, go over the line first. Yeah, so within the Air V4 range, we've introduced the Lightwind model. So that comes in a 7 meter and an 8 meter. That is a 3-strut design, and I think this is definitely, luckily, if the conditions are like, will be the wing that you all get to try. This has been one of the wings that I was the most concerned about, and one of the wings that I think consistently every time we take them out and people try them, the people are like, wow, that is so much easier to use than we expected. It's stable, it's locked in. So it's interesting in terms of the span of the wing is the same span as the 6 meter, so you don't have any additional span. And the important thing, you actually get additional in terms of the angle. If you have a look at the angulation of this section over here, if you spend a lot of time, like I do when I'm in Thailand, watching people floating around, you'll see that people don't hold the wing vertically when it's light. They tend to hold the wing at a slight angle, and that's why you'll see the angulation of that is so important. And you also see that's where we put the additional roach in. The other thing that I think is very important to see is that how much shape you get into the wingtips by having the struts. And this means you get a lot more power to the wingtips. And if you have a look at the most powerful foils, is when we put a lot of shape into the tip. And so there's a lot of low-end power that you get out of that section of the wing. And again, also when you're overpowered, the biggest area of instability when you're overpowered is this section of the wing, because that has the least support. So you're really creating a lot more supported material, so the top end on them is a lot better. And that's also a very interesting thing you'll experience when you jump on them later. Yeah, and again, looking at the overall structure and construction, it takes a lot from the Air V4 in a more compact design. So, any questions on that? Yeah. So yeah, moving into the air team. So from 6 meter down, many of you should have started receiving these wings already, like they've been shipping. So this is essentially developed around a wing for wave riding, a wing for downwinding, and a wing for freestyle. So we really made a very versatile product working with a lot of our pro riders. This has a Hukipa leading edge and the Ultra X canopy. So this is without doubt the most durable wing on the market. And that's really when you work with people like Benoit he goes 100% constantly, and he thinks about consequences later, I've come to learn. So he's a very good tester, and that's just generally, we wanted to design a wing that was lightweight and durable, and that's really very important for us, and also lightweight in feel. So it's very maneuver orientated. It has a flatter canopy. It has a 13% canopy. So when you look at the wings, there is a progression in the wings where the Go has got the deepest canopy profile. Then you go to the Air V4 that has an intermediate profile, and this has got a flatter profile than within the product range. And this ships with the handles, and it pairs with the Lightwind, but which has got some different features. So it's important to see that the Air team is different with some materials in terms of the Air team Lightwind, which I'll take you through now. And the reason for that was it's slightly earlier generation. And yeah, again, this was the first wing that had the top handle, and this would possibly be the wing where it would be the most relevant for downwinding. If you want to put the short hard handle on, it means you get a lot of control with the wing, and I think this was Zane Zane and Benoit were really pushing that idea. So both of them really being passionate about that, and yeah, that's a very important feature as well.
If there's any way you really want to have a hard handle, it would be in that position.
You say in the slide full boom as a standard, but here is with the two handles.
Yeah,
it's like the long.
But that's what we're saying. That's an earlier generation wing, and that's how fast
okay.
winging is moving. It's about 6 months earlier in development.
In the future, everything will be the long one. Well, you can still use short if you wish, but they will all be able to use long ones at the 99 centimeter dimension that we have now.
What about packing it in the backpack for traveling?
You can unscrew them when you pack them. You can unscrew the handle parts.
I know you can unscrew, but how do you fit? You cannot
They will
fit
be
it.
shorter than the board,
Yeah.
regardless.
So
Okay.
It's only an inflatable board, it'll be a
Okay,
little
okay.
bit longer.
Yeah. And the way the foil spans are going now.
Yeah. The foil mast already, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the Air Team Lightwind is probably a really good example of the most high tech in terms of new materials. And what this uses is the Ultra X canopy, but then this is when you start to use the Aeris material. As I was saying, these lines over here are actually the bladder that you can see within the wing, so that's how lightweight the fabric is. The center section uses like a triaxial laminated Aeris material, so it's much stiffer in the center section to stop the center section from folding. And and then you go, so that's an 86 gram, and then you move to the 74 towards the wingtips and towards the strut. Big thing for us is also reducing the swing weight. So if we put the weight, it's in the center of the wing, and to trying to keep the wingtips as light as possible, and that really helps with us to try to reduce the weight in the total wingtip area. Again, the benefits from this is the total ability for the wing to breathe, the balance of the stiffness. So from our side, that is definitely something to get on the water, especially if it's light today. So this is the wing to give it a try. And this is essentially the Air team and the Air V4 in the 3 struts are the same wing, just with differences in materials.
I see that the center tube doesn't come with one pump. It's because it goes with different pressure.
Yes. So for us, what we found is if you want to increase the light wind performance, like you might want to actually reduce the leading edge pressure to try to get the wing to pump a bit better. But then you can then manage the pressure. You can have a bit more pressure in the strut for stiffness, and you can reduce the pressure in the leading edge as well. It also allows us to run a thinner strut as well at the same time.
Cool. Windows or no windows? Windows?
Windows, yeah.
No windows.
Yeah, sorry, the Air team doesn't have windows, but the light wind does have windows. So, yeah.
That wing blew us away in Thailand. You get going in like a couple of knots left. The 8.0 is like a machine and so easy to handle. You're just gonna have to try it and feel.
How many knots?
I didn't have my wind meter out there, but took me a normal 665. It must have been a knot and a half difference. I think it must be down to 5.5 now.
And the Team Light Wind wasn't available at AWSI. It was
Right.
only
Yes, it's a whole new deal.
So just when I thought that we had made the most high-tech wing on the market with the Air Team Light Wind with 3 struts and the Lula and Ultra X and everything, then Sam and Sven came along with the Pro, and that takes everything to another level. But I'm going to let Sam explain it to us.
Yeah, so the fundamental thing you'll see here is the Pro is the first wing in our range with the double surface. So we've got kind of 40% of the chord is taken by a double surface. And this basically reduces the turbulence massively that you get in this front section here. And the biggest pro of this is in your upwind performance while winging. So that this is good not only for the racer who is looking to get up the course as quick as possible, but also for the guy who's, like the other day we were out catching some bumps. It's great because I can ride almost like 5 degrees more upwind than anybody else, and then ride the bumps even longer. So it is this like performance free ride wing. So if you like going fast, and also that pro of being able to go upwind harder, but the biggest place we see this being implemented is with our team in the racing, and those guys looking to sort of get into the wing foil racing and their local groups. Losing some wings over there. So yeah, so basically we've tried to optimize this. We went through so many iterations. We started with wings we already had and we're putting in double surface ourselves, and we've kind of come to where, like in the market there are already some double surface wings, but we're quite happy to be the first adding like profile into our wing. So we're pulling this down and creating a nice smooth surface for the air to pass over. So we started with kind of a straight profile, but now we've swept this down to improve the airflow over this. We've optimized windows, so you'll see here you've kind of got windows looking through both surfaces of the wing. That was a big drawback at first, was wherever there was a double surface, we were like, this is a huge blind spot we couldn't see through. So we've had to really carefully consider the angles we're looking at through this. and it kind of gives you the front view as well as your downwind and rear view through the center window. Shipping standard with the boom, with the center inserts, so you can tailor the handles to however you want, like the rest of the range. Another thing is, in the racing wings, we've separated the valves. So basically the priority here was that we can pump the strut to the maximum PSI, so you get the maximum stiffness in the center, and then you can tailor your leading edge pressure, which is what some of the guys are doing. And it's actually surprising with the leading edge, when you drop the PSI, you actually get more low-end power than if you're riding this completely rigid. So it's almost lower pressure gives you more power, and higher pressure gives you more like stability in those stronger winds. So it gives you that extra customizability of the wing. This one's using the Alula Aeris, so the same as the Air Team Lightwind, with the higher stiffness material at the heart of it here. Same justification as the other wings in the range. And basically we've looked to optimize everything for that maximum performance with kind of no hold bars. So it's got the lightest airframe materials, it's got the double surface on it, it's got the Ultra X canopy, basically to help you push the limits of what you can do.
Actually, it's a total disaster. We did this 3 years ago, but you got so busy doing so many other things that we just didn't get it done and show it to you. So I was a little bit upset. I saw somebody had it in the market about half a year ago. I thought, how could I have been so lazy? So, you know, sometimes it's about focus and just getting stuff done. So many ideas. I mean, this, in windsurfing, we had this since, I think, 1987. Freedom Sales had it, the guys out of Maui. They started, and Severn Sales now operating, I think, at 34%. So it's normal for us windsurfers to do it. So again, I apologize for being so lazy and seeing others do it before us. It shouldn't have been like this, but it really works. It's fantastic. This added material here is approximately 260 grams added, and it's in the front, so you don't really feel much about it. And there's a couple of other things here. Is, if you can see here, it's open. So there is no feel of water. When you take that out of the water, you can feel that there is a double surface there, so it doesn't matter. Also, you can see here backless, this definitely is 45, the two others are 35 centimeter long, so they give a very nice stability, and there is no more flutter. So super stable. We tried it again yesterday, first time in European conditions, and I think we were laughing.
Yeah.
This was freaking insane.
Yeah.
So very good job, guys.
Yeah.
I think this is now the cutting edge for anybody who wants to race, and we know that racing is going to happen in winging. It will be the biggest racing sport on the planet. So Komping.
Time. We're a little tight on time. So next one. So this is the X15. It's the one design. This wing is the 5.5. So this is for the under 19 division. We've got the 6, which is for the senior women, and the 6.5, which is for the senior men. All the same construction with the double surface. For the young guys, we've got the youth wing, which is the under 13s and under 15s.
The layout is the white one, and then the red one coming. It's for the youth.
So a 5.5 zips down to a 4.5?
Yep, essentially, yeah. And then that one changes. You can have a look in the corners, what sizes, what the age groups.
Perfect. So the 4.5 is for the under 13s, the 5.0 is for the under 15s. Basically, we've looked for price point here. So we've gone with the Dacron leading edge, with the sort of the heavier weight heart, same as the Air V4 here. We didn't include the double surface here. This was slightly for ease of use. It makes the wing a little bit more manageable, but also it gives those younger riders the chance that they can invest in racing and still go and play and have fun. So if they this is the wing that they'll want to take out on the water more. Sometimes with the double surface, you're choosing this for the performance. But for the kids, we wanted to encourage them on the water that this could also be a wing you buy as your first wing, and then you've already got the wing for racing, and then that's kind of the path you're taking. But also if you want to go out and have a play and do some jumps, catch some waves, this is also a pretty good wing to take with you. So,
what is important, as some of you figured out, is that
yeah.
this might be our best-selling wing right there. You're getting 2 for 1. No complex. Is 2 for 1 right there. Pretty amazing stuff. So keep in mind, we may think racing X15, but for people that want to have 2 wings, they get it in this one here, and durable. So keep that in mind. So we gotta have to just say thank you very much, Sam. Thank you, Clinton. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Joma.